Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka The Secret of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation and a mindset coach, and today we're going to be talking about the number one thing that prevents people from manifesting their desires and everything related to that. Now, before I do so, I like to remind you guys I'm available for coaching. I offer one-on-ones, courses, and masterclasses. I have a free Facebook group and a paid Facebook group, and last but not least, I also have a mailing list. If you guys need any information on any of those things, feel free to email me or DM me via Instagram for more information, and I'll be happy to share with you guys on those. And without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So, as you guys can probably hear right now, it's downpouring. I can't do anything about it. I really tried my best to fiddle with the audio settings to make sure that it is not impacting the quality of the audio that much, but I suspect it's going to do much to negate this in any way. So please bear with me on that, guys. But anyways, I wanted to really get this video out before the New Year's because what I'm about to share is going to be crucial regardless of the things that you guys are manifesting and regardless of the stage in which you guys are in your manifestation journey. So I took a look at 3 of my clients that I'm actively coaching right now. Now, mind you, these 3 folks are from different walks of life. They are manifesting completely different things. They are also different types of manifestors as well, right? Like they all have different strengths and weaknesses. Yet, the one common thing that I have found amongst all 3 of them, the common struggle that these people have is pertaining to the 3D. They don't just react to the 3D, but they use the 3D as a basis of their progress, or in most cases, a lack thereof. And what ends up happening is they tend to create a story in their minds based on what they are not seeing in front of them, and that pushes everything back. That delays their manifestations from coming in to the 3D. There's always movement behind the scenes. It's not like there isn't any movement or whatsoever. There's always movement. But when you are letting the 3D get to you, affect you, to the point where you think, hey, I'm not seeing it in front of me, or because I have to face this on a daily basis, I am unable to let it go. And what you're really telling me, or what I am picking up as a coach essentially there, is you are not giving your inner world enough importance. And when that happens, you're going to push the manifestations back by however long. You're going to perpetuate that story. The longer you perpetuate that old story, the longer you're going to keep that, in your 3D, basically, in your reality. Whereas if you start spinning with the new story, basically, right? Like if you start perpetuating the new one, even if you can't see the evidence today or tomorrow or the day after, if you keep persisting essentially in the new story, you will definitely see the evidence for it. But as I said, when folks are constantly dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, they tend to struggle with it. And I empathize. Like, we are all humans, and when we see something in the 3D that is seemingly contradictory to what we want, it's normal to get affected. The issue I have with many people out there in the community right now is that these people know everything about manifestations. Like, you don't need to know how it works scientifically or whatsoever. Like, when I say everything that you need to know about manifestation, like, you know how this stuff works. Just like, okay, if you know that, like, you eat say high calorie food, you're going to have an excess of weight unless you exercise, for example, unless you burn those calories off. Like, we know that. All of us know that. Like, it's not some rocket science there. Similarly, you know that if you think favorably consistently, you're going to have favorable results. We know that. And many people in this community, I would say 99% of them, are also aware of examples like the Barbados story, where Neville kept imagining and he got what he wanted at the end of the day. And to be honest, that is all that you guys need. Like that example, that Barbados story, and this very basic understanding that if you fill up your mind with favorable thoughts, that is what you're going to get. So the question is, well, what is it that you want? And you answer that, you assume that to be true, and you keep going. That is all you have to do at the end of the day. You don't have to do anything else but that. But when people give importance to what he said or she said or they said, they get pulled out. And when you know how manifestation works, and despite that, you allow yourself to be taken out of your inner world and let the 3D dictate your emotions, that's a problem. What's worse is that people are somewhere in the middle, right? Like, so for someone who doesn't believe in manifestation, right, they take it one day at a time. They have goals, they basically constantly react to the 3D, and they live life that way. Many of us lived our lives that way until we learned about manifestation, until we learned about the power of our imagination and so on. Some people also do it unknowingly. They have a very good self-concept of themselves, and so they have a pretty good life. For those people who don't have a good self-concept of themselves, they have a pretty miserable life. But regardless, these people just go on with their lives. But for folks who know about manifestation, the master manifestors at least, they would, persist in their inner world, like what Neville did or what Joseph Murphy did and what Abdullah did probably. They would persist in their inner world and they get results. So there's that group of people. But the people who struggle in the community are those people who kind of get wedged in between. And what I mean is, they know about manifestation, but yet they choose to react to the 3D, and then they do this constant back and forth, right? They would some days persist in the news story, some days react to the 3D, and the reacting to the 3D is obviously way stronger than persisting in the news story, because reacting to the 3D comes much more easier because you believe that way more. Why? Because you have been witnessing that in your 3D, in your reality all your life probably. So it's probably easier to react to that, and I don't fault people for that. But as conscious manifestors, you need to do better, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in that cycle and it's not going to benefit anyone. And that's what happens in most cases, is that when people are constantly reacting to the 3D, even if it's like, just say for a moment or two, and then they come back to maybe persisting, the momentum gets spoiled, right? Like you have ruined the momentum for yourself, and you're starting it again, and it's like you're going to get a lot of hot and cold. You're going to get a lot of like hot and cold things in the 3D. Sometimes you might see signs, but then things may seem to just sort of wither away for no apparent reason, and then sort of come back in and then wither away, and you wonder why. What's worrying for me as a coach sometimes is that people get stuck in this cycle for years, and that is when you see comments like, I've been in this place for years. And of course, time weighs on these people as well. And they wonder if manifestation really works. They doubt their previous manifestations. And they don't know what's real anymore. They feel crazy sometimes. And it's a very pitiful state to be in, to be honest. Like when I look at it both as a coach and from my outsider's perspective, you wonder, well, why would somebody do this to themselves? But at the same time, you see people constantly reacting, and you know why they do it, but you just wish, you can just make people see things in a certain way, I guess. And that is not just I wouldn't call it a frustration, but I guess that's the closest word I could find right now, that you could just let people see things the way you do, or maybe another coach does, right? Because like the people who I speak with on a daily basis, like my friends and stuff, like they understand this well enough to manifest a smooth ride in their lives, and I'm really happy for these people. But then I see some comment on Facebook or YouTube, and it makes me wonder, can I really make people see things the way I do? Because if I do that, I think it'll make their lives that much more easier, to be very honest. And more importantly, like people do see it. Like I feel like some people, like most people do, to be very honest. Like I think like most people do, but the issue is they don't see it consistently, weirdly enough. Like they will see it for a while, maybe for one area of their life, and they might get a success or they might get a huge milestone, and for some reason they would just stop seeing it that way. It's like as soon as you get a milestone, as soon as you get a success, you sort of revert back to the old way. So the question is, well, how do you sort of prevent all these things? Like how do you stop reacting to the 3D? How do you stop giving importance to the 3D? How do you stop a lack of consistency? The biggest antidote that I have found for this is through a question. How badly do you want this? And by this I mean your desire. Because I have noticed that changes the trajectory of many of my clients. Like if you were to ask yourself, okay, how badly do you want this? And if you say, I really have this like hunger, as Neville would say, a hungry desire, a haunting desire, people tend to get their act together, they buckle down, and they go all in. And guess what? They actually manifest it. Recently, I had a client who wanted to go to Texas to celebrate the Christmas. Very Neville-like story, to be honest. Like even before, I think about 30 days before this person's leaves wasn't getting approved. And she told me like, hey, I already booked my tickets, but my leaves aren't getting approved. So I don't know what to do right now. I'm really sort of scared. And I said, listen, you have a couple different options here. The way I see it, it boils down to 3 different options. 1, you cancel your tickets, right? You have your peace of mind, you get your money back, and you persist in you going to Texas. So that's one option. 2, you don't cancel anything, right? You persist in that story. Being the person that you are, if you doubt yourself, if you are going to fear yourself, it might not go in your way. And if it doesn't, you're going to lose your money. The best case scenario is you persist, you get what you want. So in that case, obviously you don't cancel your tickets. So those were the 3 options that we had. And I said, okay, I don't want to pressure you into anything. I'm going to give you these options, and whichever one you pick, we're going to proceed according to that. Much to my surprise, because I say surprise because this person tends to be on the little bit more of a reactive side for the most part. And I don't mean to say that to degrade this person or something. Like, this person knows. And much to my surprise, again, like she was like, you know what, coach, let's go all in. And I said, okay, we're going all in. And that means like you're going to have a Neville level of persistence. Like you're going to go all in. And I am not going to discuss this with you again after this. Okay, that means I'm going to take like an Abdullah sort of role in this. To me, you have already gone to Texas, you have enjoyed Christmas, you had a great time, it's all done and dusted with. I am not going to discuss it with you. So, right there, she didn't have a crutch. She had a timeline, almost 30 days or so. Maybe slightly more than that, but nothing too much or anything, to be very honest. And guess what? Her leaves got approved. And she is packing, and she's looking forward to that wonderful day. And the reason why this person was able to do it, despite all of the other things that was going on in her mind, when it came to this, like, she buckled down and focused. She had 30 days. She couldn't screw around and find out. It was this or nothing, right? And it was now or never sort of situation. And when somebody was sort of put up against a wall, maybe on the other end you are having like what you would see in a Indiana Jones film, right? Like either a wall full of spikes coming towards you, or like a big stone ball sort of rolling towards you or something, right? What do you do then? Are you able to persist? Are you able to remain calm? Can you say, okay, I am going to persist no matter what? Can you do that? And that's what this person did. Like, they persisted. When sort of put in a crisis, they obviously, went all in. And guess what? Like, she got it. She managed to get what she wanted. She wanted to get her leaves approved, and everything went smoothly. And she's going to go and enjoy her desires, essentially. So she really wanted it badly enough that she didn't let doubt get to her. She didn't let any other unfavorable thought get to her, because she had no time to mess around. She literally had no time to mess around. And she understood that. She went all in. That's the level of commitment that we should have for all of our desires, even if you don't know how long it's going to take. People have this false perception that just because it's going to, or they have this idea that, okay, my desires are quote unquote big, and as a result it might take me X amount of time. And normally these people tend to think about this X amount of time in matter of months, if not years. So they automatically have this unfavorable assumption right there, one. Number two, they then think, okay, it's going to take a while. How do I quicken the process, or how do I shorten this time? So they sort of get into that problem solving mindset. All because of the fact that they are having a unfavorable false assumption. Whereas what you ought to do is, if you want something, you just claim it to be yours and persist in that, not even think about time. The question is, can you do that? Can you go all in? Regardless of how quote unquote your desire, whether it's big or small, there's no such thing as big or small. Everything is the same to the universe. If I can't manifest $1 million, it's only because of my limited perceptions of how I can receive it, for example, that I need to overcome in order to receive it effortlessly. Coming back to this whole thing, like, the reason why people can't manifest something oftentimes is because they don't have that hunger, right? And they think like, okay, maybe my desire is big, I may not be able to manifest this that quickly, and they start doubting themselves, and they really sort of go into this cycle, and they think, okay, maybe it's going to take a while, and in the meantime they find it hard to persist. And it's like they have created roadblocks for themselves even before they start a marathon, and by the time they start their marathon they are already tired, because they have set this long strenuous course for themselves. Whereas manifestation is all about just looking at the destination and teleporting yourself there. In order to do that, all you have to do is simply just focus. And by focus, I mean focus on your inner world, giving importance to your inner world, so much so that nothing on the outside matters to you. And what do I mean by that? Like, for example, if I'm imagining a scene, right? Like, okay, picture this. You and your SP are celebrating your wedding, or you're celebrating your first year anniversary. You guys are chilling at your home, or you guys are taking a vacation to the Maldives or to Spain or Italy, wherever, the trendiest locations are or something, right? And you guys are like holding hands, walking, and you're just happy. You're just happy. You see smiling faces everywhere. You feel the sun just hitting your face, and you're just at peace. You have your significant other next to you, and you feel their hands, and it's just, life's just great, and you have that. You constantly anchor yourself in that. You go back to that. It feels so good. And when that feels so real, regardless of what anyone says on the outside, it won't matter to you if you feel that real enough. So, like, for example, your friend might say, dude, move on. That person is not coming back. Or that person may have told you, what, this may not have worked out well if we just kept on going, for example. But if you choose to stick to that inner vision, you don't even have to convince that person, or you don't even have to justify yourself to your friends or your family with anything. If you can just anchor yourself in a scene like what I just described earlier, and just feel that awesomeness, right? Like, just feel how good it is in your mind, and you keep going back to that, and you let that be your anchor. And by anchor, I mean you let that ground you, let that sustain your mind in a bunch of favorable thoughts, right? You're substituting your inner world for the outer world, so that you're not reacting. If you're going to react to anything, you're supposed to react to your inner world. And if you can do that consistently, whatever anyone might say will never matter to you, one. And two, you will manifest your desires with ease. There's nothing to do at all but to feel it real, but to constantly sustain that favorable thoughts and assumptions. And that might seem absolutely delusional, but if you can do that, you're going to see results in the 3D. Everything will just unfold in the most perfect way possible for you. Things will just open up for you, new pathways. People will just come into your life, or the existing ones will just agree with you, or will just roll the red carpet for you. And that might seem like it's too good to be true, but that does happen when you are in alignment. And what does alignment even mean? It is nothing but remaining rooted in your inner world. Folks will hear this and tell me, you know what, you're right. I agree with you. 100% I agree with you. But when things happens to me in the 3D, I just can't help but react to it. I get triggered by what my SP says, or what my parents tell me, or what my boss has told me. How do I manage that? How do I deal with the day-to-day things? And I thought about it. I genuinely thought about it, because I can tell you, you know what, you're not hungry enough, or you're not persisting enough. And those things might be true to an extent as well. Those statements holds validity as well, for sure. But there's one more thing that I recently thought about, that even outside of a manifesting context holds a lot of relevance, I would say. And this is one of the main points that I want you guys to remember. If you guys take away anything from this video, I want you guys to take away this part. And that is, don't think, just do. And my friend, commented on me when I told her this. She was like, are you a Nike ambassador or something? Which is really lame. But that's kind of it. Because recently I've been watching Top Gun, and like the new one, Top Gun Maverick, was it? Basically the second one, right? And towards one of the climax scenes, Goose will ask Maverick, "Why did you pull my papers out of the academy?" Blah 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 blah. And then Tom Cruise's character Maverick, he will be like, "Yeah, you're not ready." And he will say, "Well, ready for what? To fly like you?" He's like, "Ready to forget the book, to not think, basically, to just do." Something along those lines, right? Like, I can't remember the word for word, but in essence, that's it. That's just it. People think too much. See, what happens when your SP tells you, you know what, this thing can't work between us? Or when your friend or family member says, you know what, maybe you can't get into that academy or that school or that into that company. Why do people get triggered? Because they start thinking, what if that becomes true? The key word here is think. They think. They think about that scenario and they get angry. Like, why would you put that in my head? Right now, I can't stop but thinking about it. And that's just it. People think too much. Stop thinking. Like, okay, if you want something, say a job, great, you've already gotten it. Keep it simple. If you want $1 million, great, you've already gotten it. Same thing with SP. You are now happily married, as Neville would say. He has a very beautiful way of phrasing things, right? And maybe this might help people to really sort of reiterate this point. Think about Forrest Gump, right? Tom Hanks movie. It's a brilliant one. And in that movie, what does Forrest Gump do? He rarely thinks. On the surface level, when you look at the movie, Forrest Gump might seem like a idiot, right? He just runs, he just does things, and it seems like he's lucky. He always seems to get himself into the right positions and things just happens for him. But there's one fundamental thing. I think there was this one YouTube video at one point dissected this, and I've never looked at that whole movie the same way ever again, and that was Forrest Gump just does things. He doesn't think, he just does it. And there was this reel from another military movie, I'm not sure which one is it, that also echoed this sentiment. Like in Forrest Gump, there's this one scene, right? Like they are all assembling their rifles. And Forrest Gump assembles his rifle in a record time. And, the drill sergeant sort of comes up to him. He's like, damn it, Gump, why did you assemble this rifle so quickly? And then he'll be like, because you told me to, drill sergeant, And that's just it. Like, just do. Don't think. And a reel also echoed that sentiment. It was also another military one. And apparently that recruit was like the worst performing recruit in the basic training. And then he just starts to do things very quickly, very efficiently. And the drill sergeant will come and ask him, like, what is it? Like, how did you do this? And he will say, you know what? I just stopped thinking. I just started doing. I don't have to think for myself. And in a setting like a boot camp, like, I think it really rewards you. But I think in a manifesting context, it does wonders. It really does wonders, because I think like people tend to think too much. I mean, where does procrastination sort of comes from to an extent is because we tend to think too much about all the likely sort of scenarios. Right? We think like we are some supercomputers, we are like thinking about all possible scenarios, and what that does is that it paralyzes us. Sometimes all we have to do is just jump, take that leap of faith. For millennials, I think this is a scenario that might be relevant. Like, let's say if you guys are like, watching a movie, you get your food and then you want to watch a movie, right? But you're just sort of stuck in what movie to watch. And then, we can just like start scrolling endlessly. And we just waste time in the process. Whereas if you just click to a movie and you just sat down and had your food, maybe you had a good time. But what slows you down? What delays the process? Thinking. Thinking slows the process. And coming back to this whole SP thing, where let's say you are triggered by your SP, or if somebody paints an unfavorable scenario and you start thinking, mind you, those are thoughts too. It's in absolutes. Either you're thinking about your end state or you're not thinking about your end state. What happens when you're thinking about what he said or she said or they said? You are being taken out of your end state because you're thinking about something else. Simple as that. If you think about it in this way, if you see it this way, it makes much more sense. And that is something that I have noticed. Like, people tend to think too much and waste their time unnecessarily, which really like only tends to delay the process inevitably, in my opinion. So I would say ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Just focus on what you want, people. Like, don't think about the how, the when, and don't make your desires to be big in your mind. Just see it for what it is. It is already yours. It's yours. And when you see it as, okay, it's already mine, there's nothing I have to worry about, there's no problem for me to solve, everything will be resolved. Because if I can see the end in my mind, that means that whatever hoops and loops that I have to go through, I've already gone through. Whatever needed to move out of the way, already moved out of the way. There's nothing else for me to do. I'm good. I'm blessed. I already have whatever I want. It's already a done deal. That's it. That's all you have to embody, essentially. If you can make it this simple for yourself, life will become a breeze. You will become so relaxed. It's not rocket science. Manifestation is not rocket science. But if you want to complicate it to the level of rocket science, guess what? You can do it. You seriously can. I really want to put this video now more so than ever before, is because like the year's about to come to an end, and I see many people telling me, you know what, hey, I feel defeated, I feel lost, I find myself pretty much in the same spot, or I find myself not having manifested whatever I want. And I feel you 100%, but know why that is the case. And if you do, you will, simplify things for yourself, and you will manifest all the things that you want with ease. It's not that difficult. And don't stretch yourself too thin either. Don't like try to manifest like 10 things at a time. Your energy is limited. Your energy is like the currency of like the spiritual world, right? Like, you can only focus on so many things at any given point. So give yourself that grace. Maybe choose like 2 to 3 important things and just stick to that. I would say even 2. The lesser the better, to be honest. And just go all in. Just go all in. Assume that it's already done. Your job is to bring your mind back to the headspace of, okay, it is already done. This is already mine. Whatever that might be, the job, the union with SP, whatever it might be, it is already mine. Can I believe it? If yes, great. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Ensure that you're assuming that, ensure that you're embodying that thought every single day without fail. And if the answer is no, find out why. Find out why, change that thought, and start over or again. And you can only know what's limiting you if you are constantly reflecting. And what's the easiest way to reflect is journaling. Don't get complacent. I just got off a call from one of my clients, and I was just stressing the importance of that to her. Like, don't get complacent when it comes to journaling, because the thing is, when you journal, you really learn a lot about yourself. You really get to uncover a lot of limiting beliefs that are buried underneath, and you get to the root of the issue. So that's what I would do if I were you guys, to accelerate this process, to make my life easy. And that's about it, guys. We've come to this end of this video. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on the bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. If you guys have not heard about the giveaway, I am doing a 1-month DM coaching giveaway when this channel hits 2,222 subscribers. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel and leave a comment down for extra entries. So every single comment will give you a additional entry, and I am keeping count. And also be sure to make your subscription public so that when I do pick the winners, I will be able to see it. If you are not public in terms of subscription, I will not be able to pick you as a winner. So be mindful of that as well. And thank you so much for all the love and support that you guys have given me throughout this year. I really appreciate you guys. I don't know how many videos I might be making, um, towards the end of this year. I am kind of getting busy with a couple of different projects and a few things with regards to the secret of wisdom as well, which I'm going to reveal really soon. So I'm not sure how many videos I'm going to make. I'm definitely trying my best to make as many videos as I can by end of this year. But yeah, if I don't get to do so, I just want to wish you guys happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon then. Take care and happy manifesting. Peace.